confirm that you can hear me. Mary Henry, can you hear me?
I can, Allison.
Thank you. Okay.
Foley tried to say it. I heard him.
Foley, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
And we hear you.
And we hear you. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at
Mhm.
9:35
I'm gonna put you over by
on-
Connor so he can hear you.
Well, Mary Grange's trying to get in.
Yes, on Wednesday, February 7th. Mary Bringy Connor's working on it, but I have you on Mary Meehan Stroob's phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Affirmation of proper public notice.
Oh, there she is.
Mary, I'm remoted in, so I got you connected here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, affirmation of proper public notice.
This meeting has been properly posted.
Thank you. Okay, audience to visitors. Would anybody at this time care to make a statement?
Hang on.
Audience to visitors,
Thank you,
anyone
Connor.
online care to make a statement? Okay, audience to visitors, anyone online care to make a statement? All right, then we will move on to approve the minutes from January 10th, 2024. Could I get a motion to bring that to the floor?
Move.
Dave, and a second.
Second.
Mary, were there any conversations, corrections, comments?
Just a typo. Double dollar sign is all. It's no big deal.
Fix.
61. It's just a double dollar sign. It doesn't change anything.
Okay. Mary, bring me anything? Okay. All those in favor accepting the minutes, with the exception of the dollar sign removed,
Aye.
signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Review of vouchers. Thanks for sending those out. Anyone have any questions or anything on the vouchers? Mary, if you're talking, I can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Is
On
she
ahead.
muted?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just wondered, can we ask certain questions? I know in the legal things, there was some bills dealing with zoning and sanitation with the Amish. Is there any explanation for what that is?
Nikki, do you want to?
Yeah, I didn't hear your preface though. You said in the which invoice?
Zoning.
It was zoning and sanitation.
The legal invoices. So
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure I was concerned that maybe you were referencing it was in the wrong department.
No. I'm just, I live
Understand.
among some Amish people, and they're constantly, they have issues with the sanitation thing, and I just wondered, are we in some kind of a litigation or something with them?
We are. There are citations that have been issued, and we're exploring out of court resolution in hopes of avoiding a trial. So the county has agreed voluntarily to extend some trial dates that have been previously scheduled in hopes of reaching an out of court resolution and not having to go the route of a trial against, in this case, some of the members of our Amish community. The matter relates to enforcement of private on-site wastewater treatment systems that are subject to state sanitary code requirements under statute. And our zoning department is required by the federal government to enforce such sanitation requirements. So this is not the same as zoning where you've got like setbacks and county zoning. This is different. It's under sanitary code that falls within the purview of the zoning department. I think it's important though, so I appreciate this opportunity to highlight this for the community, Mary, and thank you for the question. If zoning were not to take such enforcement measures, we risk losing our FEMA coverage going forward, which also would include bridge restoration and recovery work and projects post floods. So it's critical that we seek these enforcements. With that said, we want to do so in a way where our community members understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that our hands are tied, so to speak. And that's why the trial has been delayed. And lastly, the committee will note going forward some charges if we don't reach resolution. I'm looking at having to brief some issues and draft some pleadings this month that are not going to be insignificant as far as time. So there will be more billing in that regard.
Thank you. Great question.
Okay, thank you for the explanation, because
Yeah, thank you.
sheds a little more light on it. Thank you.
Anyone else questions on vouchers? Not hearing any. We'll go to regular business. Item 6, county clerk office report.
Oh, he didn't prepare a report, so we're getting ready for the spring election. Ballots ordered. Got some conflicting court opinions now on what constitutes a legitimate absentee ballot, witness signature and address. So I don't know how that's going to play out.
Mhm.
There was a delay in getting the presidential preference ballots prepared because of a court action where a guy was trying to get on the Democrat ballot and he was successful through the courts to do that. So we're moving ahead now.
For the April ballot?
That's for the April ballot, but the presidential preference ballots need to be out by February 15th to military and overseas voters.
I see.
So they're kind of a short deadline. 47 days, federal law. 47 days in advance of the election. So they're kind of close, but we'll be fine.
Good job.
Thank you. Human resources. Policy 425, paid time off and extended leave bank. Trisha.
Yeah, we're bringing this back again. Cassie and I met with the department heads at the department head meeting and went over everything with them. They had access to the policy ahead of time to review it and make any suggestions or things that they thought potentially should be changed. One being the leave bank of 40 hours. They did request that that to be rolled over, so they don't lose it at the end of the year. That would go into either stay into that bank, or if they exceed that 40 hours that is listed, then it would then go into ELB. Did I explain that correctly?
Can I ask the question?
Yeah.
Because I read this and we're talking about if they come to the end of their year and they have PTO left in their account. The thought is, and this is where department heads weighed in, that 40 hours if you have 45 hours left over, you're going to lose 5 hours, but 40.
They won't lose 5. 5 would go into there. That's a great example. So what would happen is currently what is happening is all 45 hours is going into ELB. That's
Okay.
Current policy. What would happen with what is presented would be that if they had 45 hours at the end of the year, 5 of those hours would go into their ELB as it is now. That is only used for FMLA purposes. They'd have to have an approval. Otherwise, 40 would go into that sick leave bank that they could use for more a loose.
And then that
reason.
40 hours of sick bank, they have up until
the end of the year.
the end of the year.
Mhm.
And if they don't use that, then those 40 hours go into ELB.
We talked about that as
Essentially.
an option,
Mhm.
but moving banks around like that, so we just basically said that 40 hours would just sit in your sick leave bank. So we're not putting it like back into the ELB at the
Back
end of the
into-
year, but you can't ever have more than a maximum of 40 in your sick leave bank.
So let's say somebody has 40 in for 2024. At the end of the year, they currently have 40 in their sick leave bank. And at the end of 2024, they have 20 hours of PTO. So what would happen is, since their 40 hours of sick leave bank is already capped at that 40 hours, those 20 hours would go into ELB.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead of like moving back and
Yeah,
forth.
that part,
Administratively.
and it also doesn't make sense. I would say, unless I'm missing something, this I hear the intention, I get it. This somehow needs to be cleared up, and maybe it is later and I'm just not seeing it, is that sick leave bank is not actually another. You're not adding 40 hours on top of PTO.
In section 8, I think
You'll see
Yeah.
more clarification. Okay.
The other part that I do need to mention is, since this has been sent out to you, we did scratch 8.4 because that does talk about it being converted to ELD at the end of the year.
And so you don't want that.
Correct. It talks about it, is it 9.5, Cassie? 9.5 talks more about employees on use PTO after 40 hours of sick leave will be transferring automatically to their ELD. So it was kind of duplicate, but that's not technically what's happening, is we'll leave it in that sick leave bank unless they go over that 40 hours, then it would have to go into ELD.
Okay.
Yep, they still need medical certification if it's over 3 days.
Yep.
You know, this is on the department heads to enforce. You know, they still have to notify their supervisor if they are going to use a sick day. You know, it's a disciplinary thing, just like any other time. So that's the sick leave bank piece. The other piece of these updates were prorating vacation upon hire, PTO, I should say, upon hire, and then at termination as well. Currently, if they're hired January to June, 17 PTO days, July to December, 15. So even if we're hiring them, you know, that second week in December, they're getting 15 PTO days. So it's, and part of that is because of our system. So what we'll do is we'll just do a manual calculation. It's really not a big deal. The same thing upon termination right now. If you terminate prior to June 30th or July 1st, or
yes. Mhm.
You get 50% of your PTO. If you go in July through December, it's 100% of your PTO.
So 1 day difference, they go from 50% to 100%.
So you're going to more of a true calculation based on the days.
Mhm. Just to be fair. And also there were just individuals that were using it to their advantage.
Well, I would,
Mhm.
Yeah.
if I had 1 day, I'd
Yeah.
be like, actually, my notice will be in 1 day. Ooh, I can't fault anybody for doing that.
Mhm.
It would be hard as an HR manager to not be like, you know, if you wait 1 day.
Right. If you recall from last month, we had also included the language about 30-day notice. Since our department heads are required to give 30-day notice, that they cannot use PTO during that time unless otherwise approved by me. You know, sometimes that you have something scheduled and it happens, but to try and have some continuity during that changeover, that, you know, they're not just missing for the last month of their employment. So those are the big highlights of that piece. There's another piece of this that I'd like to kind of treat as a separate discussion. And that's what we're currently doing with ELB.
So should we pause right here?
I think
and
so. I
see
think
if there's more questions about that.
I
yes.
think so. That would be great.
Okay, so are there any, well, I have questions. How was this up to this point? How did department managers, like you work together, are people for the most part aligned with this?
Yeah, I think we had some really good discussion
Looking at
on
three.
these points. You know, there's 3 of them in the room here. Unfortunately, Amy was sick, but she shared her thoughts prior to the department head meeting. That portion of it, when we were talking about this, the sick leave bank and everything, I felt went well, and we had really good open discussion about it.
Okay.
It's the next piece that.
Are there any other department heads that would like to weigh in on that online? Okay, not hearing any. Committee, do you have any further questions about this? Dave, Mary?
But you may want to see if anybody online first has any questions, just so we don't lose them.
Well,
I muted Oli earlier. Oli, I did mute you earlier because we were getting a lot of background noise. So if you have anything to add here.
Mary Bringy?
No, I don't. I read through it and I think it seems pretty reasonable.
Okay.
Just a couple questions. The 912 hours that ELB cannot exceed, is that number based on FMLA, previous FMLA, or what's that number based
It
on?
was the initial amount that was put in the resolution when they
Okay.
created the ELB bank, that we have not changed or done.
Anybody know what that was based on?
114 days is what it approximately comes out to be, but I have no idea.
Yeah, we went round and round on that too.
Okay.
Besides it being.
That was all created
resolution.
when the union is dissolved, and that might have been something related to that.
Okay, and then my other question is, with what you have proposed in here, when somebody then terminates, what is it that they're actually paid out? Is it any ELB? Is it any PTO? And is it any SLB? And if so, what percentage or what is it?
Current policy reads that if anyone that was hired prior to 2013, if they have 25 years of service, they receive 50% of their ELB.
Yes.
If they're hired before 2013, but do not have 25 years, they have less than 25 years of service, they would receive 25% of their ELB.
Okay.
And then the sick leave bank, if they were to have anything in that sick leave bank, that would not be a terminal payout for that at that point. PTO, if this is approved, it would fall under the schedule that they would receive whatever they have earned and not used for the calendar year.
Okay, and what about those people who've been hired since 2013 and their ELB?
They receive nothing.
Thank you.
And then one other caveat is if they terminate within that probationary period of 6 months, they do not receive anything either.
Mhm. Okay.
Does that cover all?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, not hearing any more on this piece. Do you want to jump in the next?
Sure. So the other piece that we just wanted to bring to your attention is the way that we're currently treating ELB. So as Tricia just said, if you were hired before 2013 and upon termination or retirement, you have 25 years of service, you have 20 or 50% of your ELB paid out. Less than that 25 years then is 25% of the ELB. As Mary just said, if you were hired after 2013, you don't receive an ELB payout. From what we can garner, this was all set up when the union dissolved as a benefit to those employees. We've looked back at the resolutions, and it's about as clear as mud what some of the intention was as far as if that ELB bank was going to allow to accrue, for the next 10, 11 years now. So more from an awareness standpoint, we really feel like there are three options here. First option being do nothing, leave it as it is. Second option, because this is from a liability standpoint, will continue to grow as more is put into ELB, employees' hourly rates go up, and could be paid out, and then we just moving forward, everyone's treated the same. The third option would be to stop the accrual. It gets put in a separate bank upon termination or retirement for those people. They get it paid out then, but we cap it now.
So explain that a little more to me, because there is already a cap at 9. What are the hours?
912 hours.
So when you say keep accruing, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So every year that we move forward and they have unused PTO, they can continue to add to that bank.
Until they hit that 900.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what you stop accruing would look like.
So
it's not really accruing. You're waiting till you hit a ceiling.
It is, but it's also the dollar amount is accruing
Goes up.
because the amount of, there's the potential for them to add more hours to the ELB bank to a cap, but then their theoretically their hourly rate is going to be higher.
And then you get paid out at the higher.
Yes.
Okay.
So we did get some feedback from the longer term employees at the department head meeting that are not in favor. And I told them I would
Not
pass
in
that along to
favor
the committee of paying it out now.
Okay.
That third option as far as creating a separate bank and cutting it off now wasn't addressed at committee because it was something that actually Jerry brought to me afterwards and we've discussed.
How many people are we talking about fall into the 2013 or before category?
56, I believe, was the number Bobby gave
That's the
me.
number I'm getting to. Number 53.
Oh, I thought it was 53, but
Out of,
50-ish.
somewhere in there.
I could pull it up. if I can find it.
230 benefits eligible employees.
okay.
And some of those are at 50 and some of those are at 25.
Mhm.
But I think the reason this was brought to our attention or why we're even talking about it and bringing it to awareness is the fact that any employee that was hired after 2013 does not have this benefit, which I don't feel this is a benefit. This isn't something I offer to new hires because it isn't something that I would receive in 10 years or 25 years or however many years. It isn't an option. So that's something that we have to take.
Yes, but the benefit is, that's like half the story. The benefit is you could lose your PTO at the end of the year that you work because it's a use it or lose it policy. The benefit is it goes into an ELB account. So in the event of an
Mhm.
FMLA situation, you do have compensation.
Correct.
So it's not nothing.
Mhm.
I mean, it's, I understand there's this division and I don't necessarily have it. I'm not sure where I sit on it, but just many people have no money when an FMLA
I don't
event
think
comes.
Cassie isn't proposing that we remove ELB completely. That isn't the thought.
Right, I'm just saying there is a benefit to rolling it. It's a short, hopefully you never have to use
Yeah,
it.
and I
The
agree
older
with
you get in
that.
life, the chances are you're gonna have an
I
event.
meant more of the
But that's what-
longevity benefit.
More of a discussion about those that are gonna get paid for that ELB and those that aren't.
Correct.
Right. But the line has been drawn.
Correct.
And you're just wondering, should,
The line's been drawn, but where I feel the inequity is that we're in the same calendar year end of 2013. You have an employee here who has PTO that's rolling into their ELB, and same over here. This employee gets that time paid out, and this one does not.
if they're after 2013?
Right.
Yes, I get that.
So are you saying that those prior to
Don't think it's that way.
2013 are accumulating their full PTO now
Unused.
Unused PTO.
and it goes into their ELB?
Yep, up to the
Correct.
max.
Up to 912 hours.
Yep.
Okay, but where's that money from before 13?
What do you mean?
Well, she talked about the 50-some employees that have a dollar value from prior to 2013. If I'm understanding you correctly, when they go into 2014, those employees that got that, anything that they haven't expended in their PTO can go into that ELB, and they're going to get that full value at the end when they retire.
Yeah, either
Mm-hmm.
50 or the 25%.
Okay, so if that amount is 60 hours, let's just say it's 60 hours at that time, they get 60, but this new guy over here only gets 40.
New guy doesn't get
Doesn't
any.
get anything. I'm not tracking.
This is about.
No,
it's
just into an ELB. I understand it's about a payout, but I'm just wondering, are they accruing more because they were here prior to 2013 or not? Are they able to accrue more
They were able to transfer their sick leave balance.
at that time?
At that time.
At that time?
Right.
Okay.
It's not apples to apples. They're accruing the same. I mean, anyone can roll over. It's just what they get paid out.
I'm just wondering if they're being treated the same from 2013 forward.
And my understanding is they are, with the exception of the payout.
Right.
The payout, correct.
How the policy works
Yeah.
is equal.
Mhm.
It's the
Okay.
payout
Mhm.
piece. So I'm going to play a little devil's advocate. So if the county, let's say, how much does the county contribute to health insurance? 80%,
80%.
80%, 85, whatever.
Yeah.
It's in the eighties.
There's two levels.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
but
it's
just bear with me on what might be a clunky analysis. If one year the county contributes 90% to a benefit and the next year they contribute 70% to a benefit, is it now unfair because one year you got a 90% contribution and the next year you got a 70% contribution? When it was really a administrative decision to create this ELB transition. So it's feeling unfair that they don't get treated the same after 2013, but nothing was disingenuous about it.
But there, in that scenario that you just said, that would apply to all employees. That 90% or 70% or 80% or 70% is all employees.
In different years, it is all employees. As we just, all employees, ELB is treated the same. It's just in 2013, a transition administratively happened that created an administrative change happened. We've all said due to the union change.
Yep.
So you made an administrative change that these people, 2013, because it all changed for them, have a different way we go as we move forward. I don't really have, like, I can see both sides, but I don't think anyone's not being treated unfairly. It's just that at that point in time, the benefit had to change. And so I guess my not very good question was, you have to make analysis of benefits all throughout and you make changes based on the business needs. So I'm trying to understand why this is so different. It's because they're not getting a payout for their ELB and other people are.
Yeah, essentially.
I would like to add a comment to this. Because of Act 10, this is why this happened. And you also have to look at, because of Act 10, and they lost the right to negotiate, those are our employees that have longevity with us. And to get those benefits, they also probably at that time also accepted a lower wage, because that was part of that your benefits would help outweigh the wage and you would have something later in the end. Okay, after Act 13, that changed. Now wages have gone up, benefits have come down. But I believe, and I strongly believe, we need to honor our longevity people and those contracts that worked before 2013. Still, it's not fair to the ones coming in, but we're in a different time now. Mm-hmm. And these people were here in a different time too. And we are lucky to still have them through this change, because they're counting on their retirement and this benefit that really was owed to them from a different time frame. So I strongly believe, even though it's not equal now, we're talking two different time frames and they fall in a different time frame, and it is what it is. And we need to honor that agreement from before 2013.
Thank you, Mary. I don't think anybody's questioning that we wouldn't honor the 2013 agreement. I think what's on the table is, does it extend, or a potential, does it extend for people past 2013? Yes?
I really think the
That is, I mean, that's
one
a
of
fourth
the
option we haven't talked about is, if you want to create this what essentially would be longevity pay, to extend that to all employees that have 10 or 25 years of service. Now it's going to cost the county more, but that is a fourth option to create equity.
Okay. I sidelined the conversation. Sorry about that. Give me your three options.
Do nothing.
Do nothing. Pay it out.
Yep.
People didn't like that.
Yep.
Third. Fourth is longevity
was-
pay, extend to all.
was moved to a separate bank and
And then stop
basically cut
accruing
it-
into
stop
that.
accruing.
Just kind of freeze it. where
Like
it is.
right now where it is, everybody's just moved.
Correct. But when they do retire or separate their employment, whatever it may be, they would get it at whatever their rate of pay would be at that time of retirement.
Full,
It's just that they would
full
not,
percentage, like,
they just won't be able to continue contributing to this bank. It would just stay frozen in time.
Well, but if it's frozen, then it doesn't accumulate it at the current, go to the current level.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. I mean, that's
The third option was about just taking those hours and ending the policy, taking those hours, putting them over here and say there's those hours. We're gonna still honor this 50% or 25%.
There's those hours at that rate of pay.
And whatever your rate of pay is when
when
you
you
leave.
leave.
But it's about stopping accruing that so that if Connor's sitting there, well, he wouldn't be, Phil would be one. He might have 500 hours in this ELB. They would set that aside and say, boom, that's it. You're not going to be able to accrue more hours into this buyout. You still can accrue into your ELB, but not into being paid for it. That would end the policy, set it aside and leave it there. That was like the third option. Because last meeting, if you remember, we were talking about paying this out right now, buying it out and being done with it.
Well, and the third option.
$300,000.
And the third option has an A to it, because if you didn't allow it to accrue anymore, they just didn't take it now, then 3A would be when you retire, then you get the rest of it. But it's at that previous rate of whatever your balance was at that time.
You could make it that you're gonna freeze it at this wage, or you're just gonna make it so that it's whatever your wage is down in the future. It just
That's what it currently is.
extends the buyout time.
Connor,
I guess I just have some thoughts on this. One would be, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm hired after 2013. And I guess from the equitability standpoint, I don't feel that it's unfair. You know, I was one of the few that when I started employment, I read through the handbook page cover to cover, and I understood my benefits and everything that was agreed on when on the point of hire. So I don't feel that is inequitable. But furthermore, if we're going to change the accrual that employees can't continue to push that into their ELB bank to get paid out at 50 or 25%, I would just seek further clarification on what was conveyed to the employees at that time, because that's changing their benefits, whether they agreed to it or not. I don't know.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that, Connor. I think you're switching ships on people here that I don't feel it's right. I do. I strongly feel changing it now, freezing it or whatever is not right.
To be clear, I wasn't advocating
No,
anything.
you're just clarifying.
When I came up with option 3 was an opportunity for the county not to have to come up with $300,000 to end the policy and to still set that aside, because that's what I thought the committee's direction they were headed.
I think
So
we
I'm
were
not
just like
advocating
throwing out ideas and we wanted feedback.
okay with whatever.
Yeah, and Tricia and I and made this clear, I think, at the department head meeting as well, is that we're not advocating one way or another. I'm bringing it to your attention as, a liability that will continue to grow. And just because it's been brought up to me several times. So if the committee chooses to do nothing with that part, we'll continue to administer it as written.
It would be very challenging to go and know what they were actually told upon hire. In fact, the current policy that's in front of you, when I was updating that entire 25% and 50% were not even in policy that was in the L drive and that has access to all employees.
Recognizing you might have a bias, but I think you were here then. Phil, what do you recall in your memory as to what you were told?
When the whole Act 10 transition came about, before that, we had the same thing. We had vacation and you had sick leave separated. For whatever reason, suspected reason was there was abuse of sick leave that was being used for vacation. So they transitioned into the PTO bank, so you could use it for whatever you wanted. But before Act 10, we were still allowed, if you had vacation and or sick leave, you got a sick leave day a month. At the end of the year, if you had vacation time left over, that went into a sick leave bank that you could use if you run out of sick leave. And it wasn't tied, it could be tied, but it wasn't necessarily tied to family medical leave. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but in the old days when people knew I'm retiring 4 years from now, and the level of the bank changed, used to be 816, it went to 912 through various negotiations and such. You developed the 102 flu, where, okay, I know I'm retiring in 5 years, pretty good chance I'm probably going to be sick 1 day a week for the next 2 years. And you get that bank down because there was no payout on it. When we made the transition into the new system, kind of as is now, we were told, and I was in the department head position then, that we were told when they were moving your extended leave bank into, or I should say your vacation bank into the extended leave bank, we were told, don't worry, you're not going to lose it. Because that was a big fight when the whole thing started, because a lot of people had 600, 700, 800 hours in that bank. At that time, the county discussed paying it off. And I was a fan of that you just paid it out at whatever level, start fresh. Anybody that got hired now, you could accrue a bank, but you were never going to get paid for it, which was fine. We knew that going in. And then that was when they did the 25 and 50, so on and so forth. So that, to me, as memory served, that's how that kind of all went down. My long-term employees, they obviously keep tabs on what's going on, and anytime you talk about ELD bank, their first inkling is we're going to take it away. And they look at it that was time that they put in there, and the system has changed over the years, which I understand. And obviously everybody would want 100% payout versus a 50, but they're happy with a 50 versus a 0. So that was the discussion as I come over here today. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? But that's memory serve. That's how it's kind of got to where we're at now. And they kept increasing the limit of the ELB bank, and we always question why you increasing that limit if you're not going to give it nothing for the end of it when you do retire or quit.
Thank you, Phil.
Can somebody tell me what the resistance was to the payout? I know financially it might not be feasible, but what? Because they wanted it to be like an end of employment situation. Okay.
Just as a point of clarity, the original, when Act 10 dissolved and this started, it was 25%. The 50% got added in several years later, 2016.
Bobby? I see a hand.
Hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm on my way in, so if I cut out, I'm driving. The other thing to consider too is that this is not applicable to WRS. So this does not count towards earnings for retirement. This is just a payout. The other thing that we need to also consider is that even though we're budgeting for payroll, the additional payout is not part of what is budgeted because it's over and beyond. We don't know who's leaving or when they're leaving. So for example, if I was hired before 2013 and now I had a max amount of 912 hours, potentially my 50% payout could be in excess of $30,000 just for myself as an example. So we also have to make sure that we're taking into consideration unbudgeted payouts, which is what ELB is for those that were hired prior to 2013.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that any PTO payout, you're going to run into that because you can't predict when people leave.
I would also like to say that I know a lot of people that have this use this money to help pay for their health insurance premium.
Sure.
And that's kind of why you are saving it.
That's
As
the way.
far as I know, most
Mhm.
of the people I know, when you have to
Mhm.
get insurance yourself, this is what they're putting it towards. I'm not going to say it's everybody, but
Right.
that if you have to start buying your own insurance or whatever, that's where that money's going. And that's about a year's premium, depending what you get for health insurance.
So committee, what is your, I'm not hearing a great deal of appetite to getting rid of what was promised the 2013, prior to 2013. Am I right about that?
Right.
Mary Bringy?
I have been through this with this policy before, and it is what it is. It was decided at a certain time, and I think we just leave it alone.
So I think you have your answer.
All right, so, we then keep 11.4 and 11.5. Are we comfortable with everything else we discussed on the first piece of the, as far as the sick leave, prorating the PTO, those items that we discussed earlier?
I am committee.
Good.
I'm
Do you need-
good with it.
Do you need, what do you need from, do you need a motion?
We would
Do you
need a motion.
Take it to the county board.
Yep, take it to county board.
Will be a motion to,
Accept the changes as presented in policy 425?
less,
Less 11.4 and
11.5 and
11.5
8.4.
and 8.4. We'll clean
I'll make
the.
that motion.
Dave will make that motion.
again,
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Mary Bringy? Any more discussion?
what was the 8.4? Hold it, cross that out.
Yeah.
So let's do, cross that out.
All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
I,
Any opposed? I think Ollie's here, but,
Yeah.
I'll clean it up and give it to you.
all right.
Do you want?
I'm going to hope I don't, that ELB, just kind of like, I feel like every year we talk about ELB.
Yeah. Hopefully
Yes.
we aren't talking about the 425 policy for a very long
I
time.
can't imagine Mary
Been
Bringy
a
is
few
like,
meetings.
yes, every year we talk about ELB.
yes,
Okay.
we do every year.
Perfect.
Okay, policy 405 bereavement, Tricia.
So the next policy that we were looking at was bereavement. It just recently came up that it may not be being administered consistently throughout all departments. So we thought, let's take a look at it, check it out. So we just wanted to remove that, that this policy isn't merely just to allow employees to have time off for attending a funeral or burial. We wanted to open it up more that for time for grieving, or, you know, being with family, other items other than just a burial and funeral, due to some people aren't even having formal arrangements at this time. So that was the main one. And then we just added some verbiage about that they don't have to expect it to be used for preparation for funeral, and then giving that in advance notice. You obviously don't know if your family member is going to be passing for the most part. So we wanted to remove that piece of it. We also wanted to add in a piece that in the event that a county employee were to pass, that they would have that option to go to the office and attend. We don't want employees to feel that if someone in my office were to pass, that, you know, I had to be here and could not attend that funeral, especially with larger offices.
And that was based on feedback that we received from the department heads. So this was at our last department head meeting, we talked about 425 and then the bereavement policy.
The other piece that was mentioned that was added was bereavement leave related to case management, may be approved on a case-by-case basis, and that would need to be approved by the administrative coordinator. So that would be if you were to have an individual that you're working with that were us in certain departments. That was a recommendation by some of the department heads. that they would be allowed
Oh,
to use
like
bereavement.
not necessarily a county employee, but
Correct.
someone you're advocating for or
Correct.
helping with.
Social work.
I'd say.
Again, those were just ideas that were brought to our
Mhm.
attention that we included.
Committee, any questions?
I have several.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying about people may want to have time to grieve. If I decide I need to grieve close to Christmas, but the death was in May, what about that?
I would think that that would be up to the department head to make the decision that it would have to be within reason, unless there's an actual ceremony or burial, like
Or
they're
celebration.
doing a
of life,
celebration of life 6 months later due to.
which could be around Christmas, because that's when family.
Well, yes, it could,
gathers.
but if, you know, if you're saying that they may not have services and we're leaving it open so that, because people need to just grieve, that's, you've left it open for interpretation there. Same way with your, if there are pallbearer or participates in ceremonies of a military funeral, I can see the pallbearer, but participate in is open. It could be just that they attend.
Well, or what if you're reading? If you're,
Reading is another item, but just participate in means I could decide to go to military funerals every day of the week.
yes.
That's just what it says. And then again, what if the services are not at night? Can I take the day off because the services are at night?
Yes.
And same way with a coworker. If the services are night, can we close the office during the day?
Maybe.
We would
Well,
hold that.
That would be up to the
head
department
decision.
discretion.
And how long do they get to close the office? Can they close it for 3 days? Is it just 1 day?
Depends on the scenario.
Those requests have to be approved by the administrative
Mhm.
coordinator.
I will say that the language cleanup of time off for bereavement to attend funeral and burial arrangements, that has
Mhm.
been uniformly being changed across HR policy
Mhm.
all over the place because people just simply aren't doing things that way.
Mhm. And I'm just saying that if you're going to change it, cover your basis for what you need. I'm not saying you shouldn't change it. And I'm not saying that these shouldn't happen. I'm just saying that they're leaving it open to interpretation, which can lead you to issues. When you say a department head can determine if they should close their department, is that true for the sheriff's office, for the nursing home? Is it true for highway? You know, you've got unfair policies anyway. When you say things aren't enforced uniformly across, you got 3 different divisions there that some of them can't close regardless. You know, sections of them can close. So consider that in there as well. And then, is it fair? I think you put in here, the way it reads, it says, employees in other departments that wish to attend services must first get approval in advance from their department head. Are you opening that up and then they're going to get paid time off because somebody in another department died? Or do they need to use their PTO? So those are.
Are you talking about they get bereavement time?
Right. Mhm.
It says that they have to use their PTO.
Mhm. Okay, I guess I misinterpreted that one then.
Yeah, actually, that's one that Tricia and I talked about at length.
Okay.
Because we didn't want
Mhm.
it abused.
Mhm.
So, you know, if we do have a current employee die and there is a request to close the
Mhm.
office, that is approved by the administrative coordinator, that they're not making that determination on their own.
Mhm.
And I think that will help to allow for equity across the county as well.
And we have had
Where-
this happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So those are just some things that I see that you could get a pushback from somebody if you tried not to either pay them, give them the time off, whatever. So
Typically how a policy like this plays out is my grandfather died.
Mhm.
I'm gonna spend a few days with my family, and there
Mhm.
might be a celebration of life in 6 months, and I'm gonna hold one day for that.
Mhm.
I mean, you're talking 3 days to, and I guess personally, you're talking 3 days to grieve.
Mhm.
Grief can,
There's no
if you take
timeframe.
3 days and you're gonna really say I'm grieving at Christmas because my grandfather and I had all
You
these
very-
Christmas plans,
Very well
it's
made.
3 of the days. Like I mean, nobody would probably say, well, prove that you're really grieving. It's just 3 days.
It's hard to manage that, as I see it.
The management is there's only 3 days.
Correct.
That is the management of it.
I understand that. But if I don't use 2 of the 3 days at the time of the death, and then I decide that later I want to use them for whatever reason, celebration of life, whatever it is down the road, who's keeping track of the 2 days that's left over?
Well,
I would say that'd be up to the department.
department head.
I mean, my grandmother died while I was pregnant and I took one day.
Mhm.
I didn't feel I needed 3, so I
Mhm.
just used the one.
And to answer your question, the new payroll system will track it really easily.
Mhm. I understand that when you get your new payroll system, but bottom line is you need to determine if you want to put any parameters on it, and if you do, now's the time.
I'm not sure what.
And then I don't know how you deal with the sheriff's department, the nursing home, and
Right.
because they're different than your other departments, so.
We were just trying to give that option for thinking of the current
Mhm.
departments that have been through it. And I'm sure that they probably dealt with it within, but they probably did close the department to go to the service. But in this way, with it being in the policy, they would have to come to Cassie and there would be communication
And awareness.
and awareness within the county.
Mhm.
I understand some departments can't close, but you also know when you're working in that department, you know that you are a 24/7 position. There may be someone that is willing to say, I'll stay back, or.
So here's the only sentence you need. In the event of the death of a current county employee, if applicable or if allowable, the department head, or if, like, I just add like, if feasible.
It does not put the department in an undue hardship, I think is what we had initially discussed, but.
Yes, so add that sentence that will address what your, what that concern is.
And you'll run into the same thing later when you get into your emergency closing kind of concept and how that's handled too, so.
I don't disagree with the time frame piece of it, as far as using bereavement. I just don't know what a reasonable time frame would be. 6 months, 12 months.
I actually don't agree with that. 3 days is your time frame.
Yeah.
Yep.
And unless a department head is gonna tell me like, this is way too hard to manage.
I can't imagine an employee coming 2 years later and saying, remember when my uncle died?
Well, you could, that could
Be
be a calendar
surprised.
year if that would be the only time frame within 12 months of the.
Right, from the data, yeah. I mean, if you feel that be abused, which I know,
It does say department head may grant, so they have to.
correct.
So if it doesn't seem reasonable, then they just shouldn't grant it. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is
My
probably.
mom died 4 years ago. No,
And I suspect that would be like, sounds like that's a PTO day.
sounds like PTO to me, huh?
Matter if we wanted to outline that or not.
I think May saved it. Others, Dave?
So we made one change.
We're gonna, well, so far we've made one change, just clarifying that,
1 point.
closure cannot create undue hardship.
on the department.
I'm good with this.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Mary Bringy, did you have anything?
No, I think it's fine the way it is, and 3 days is 3 days.
Would
Or
you
one
like
day.
to second that motion?
Sure. Yes, I will.
Any more discussion?
I had my hand up. Has anybody abused this, or we're just looking at this because we're just trying to clean up policies?
We are looking at it, not necessarily because it's being abused, but because, like I mentioned, that it's being implemented in different ways in different areas, different departments.
So you want consistency.
Yes.
Yeah, just clarification, so all department heads know how to follow the policy.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor of accepting the policy 405 with the change noted, signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? You're an aye.
No,
No. Are you,
I'm an aye.
are you
oh, I
in
thought you said
favor?
you were opposed. I'm sorry.
Said I'm an aye.
All A, motion carried.
Okay. Thank you. Creation of full-time economic development marketing coordinator.
Take this one.
Does Amy, you want to join?
Take it, and if Amy has any input, I'm good. All right.
Lauren?
So last year we did establish a process for creating new positions within the county. With this one, we did it a little backwards. So we approved this position as part of the 2024 budget. So that piece of it is done. The Economic Development Committee has been back and forth for several months on whether to make this a full-time position or continue with the current contracted position. That committee was recently presented with the strategic plan, plural. And in both of those plans, it identified that the recommendation to the county was to create that full-time position. So last week at their committee meeting, that's what they voted. We have run this job description and the pay grade past the wage consultant. And assuming it gets approved today, then we will post and start interviewing and hiring. Amy, anything to add?
What's that salary range?
I believe
tell you.
Tricia can pull it up
Yep, I already had it.
So
ready
we
with your
already
question.
approved this position.
as part of the budget.
Yes.
Yes, so typically, the way the process would go would be
Is
you have
4140
consensus at home committee.
Starting.
It goes to general government,
Step 6.
we identify a
That's
funding source
3460.
at finance, and then it goes to the full board.
What was it?
So
what was
we've
the
done
first?
pieces of it, but like I said, we're doing it a little backwards on how we normally would. At the time we approved it as part of the budget, the committee had not yet made the decision to create that position.
So,
They've done that now.
So this is just really like,
What was that?
so less than the board,
Head down.
board, not anymore.
No.
No.
More, it's more.
Because the
just,
board already approved it as part of the 2024 budget.
including the-
so really we've already approved this position. You just have put form around it. You're just like, here's
So
where
rubber-
to see description.
Rubber stamp
Yeah.
it
You approved the
as
money.
the general government committee, as part of our approved process.
Okay, and now we have a job description where before it was independent contract.
Correct.
I gotta say, from an HR director or manager, I'm so glad that
so glad.
independent contracting, it was really a thin line we were walking. So I'm very, from a risk management standpoint, this is the way.
I don't think it'd be appropriate for the committee to approve the job description.
Sure.
Okay.
Any
that's part of
questions on the job description as it's been presented?
Money's been approved, but this is job description.
Well, I'm assuming this job description went to economic development.
It did.
It did.
So you guys have already vetted it.
Can
Mary?
you put that job description on a split screen so we can see it? I can't remember everything it included. Sorry.
But your committee and Amy, this has all been vetted through your committee. You're good to go. We're just getting through the process.
Did you guys approve the job description?
Mary,
Oh.
They did.
bring
All right, let's start.
Mary Bringy?
I have a question. So what you're saying, I'm kind of not up to speed on this. I read this, but so that we were hiring someone to do what this individual would want to do, or we want them to do, or you say
So
it was
currently it's been for years, it's Christina Dahlhausen's has been an independent contractor.
okay,
And so now, which is, like I was saying before, probably we're past where an independent contractor would be based on how that role has been utilized. So now it's becoming a position of the county, which we've already approved, but this is the job description it coming forward. Now,
okay.
I don't know if you're gonna post for the job.
Follow recruitment process, since this is technically a new position for Vernon County. We will
So I
post the
think you
position.
You
like we
have
did.
to post it.
Yeah,
And
so that's what
not a
Tricia
bad
was
thing.
saying.
Okay, so this is going to start out, and so whoever's doing it now could potentially be
Apply.
a person who applies for it.
Correct.
Okay, well,
Yes, great
I'm
question.
just seeing, we're basically looking at the same number of people, just handling it differently. Okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Mary Meehan Stroop.
Just a question on one of the tasks that I identified. It says they'll assist in monitoring the website and social media. Who are they assisting?
I haven't identified that as a county yet. That's been quite a discussion with our website committee. And we're hoping that we'll have more discussions on that and have a point person. But if it works out, I think the intention was for this position to be that point person. Because right now, individual departments are managing or not managing their pages, and we have some just real inconsistencies across the website. So we're hoping that will be the person.
So rather than assist, should it just say monitoring?
It could.
I'm just.
Although it's probably gonna be both.
I think the initial look at the job description is because they currently would be assisting until we get to that point of.
Yeah. Yeah, and at which point, if they would take over the monitoring, we would just make that change to the job description. That's, we do that from time to time.
Okay, I think, did we have a motion in a second to approve the
Yeah.
job description?
We'll have a-
Dave has can I get a second to approve the job description?
Second.
Mary Meehan Stroop, any more discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mary Bringy, your hand is still up. Did I miss you, or is it just,
No, I don't know why it's still up.
okay, I
I'll
just want to
try
make
to
sure I
keep
didn't
it
miss you.
Okay,
And then
it should be
just
down
for
now.
awareness, then this will change Amy Oliver's job description as well, and we'll be bringing that next month for approval by Jennifer.
Because it's adding a new report.
Yeah.
And that was already in the budget as well. I'm sorry.
All right, department report, Tricia.
All right, so I was just going to send this really quickly to Mary so she could have it as well, but I can do that once I'm done.
Thanks for
Okay.
copy.
You're welcome. Okay, Mary, I just sent you a copy of this as well. So you have
Okay,
it
thank
in
you.
the box.
I have 2 laptops going, so.
Okay, so current hot topics in HR, I might be stealing some of Cassie's thunder like usual. But continuing to look for a human resources generalist. We have had some interviews. We have some additional interviews this week and next. We've been working with McGrath. Cassie and I have reviewing the data for the wage study. That's been an ongoing item. The UW Extension held diversity trainings for Vernon Manor and Vernon Acres employees for 3 different days, different times. Out of the 125 employees, 107 attended. So I thought that was a really great attendance. She had also offered that she could offer some virtual or maybe recordings for those that were unable to attend due to schedule.
That's great.
Yeah, I attended and she did a great job. It was fantastic. So big props to her. Attended the initial planning meetings for the implementation of Tyler Technologies for the HRIS system. We have a couple of meetings right now, just very beginning stages. So far, big high five to Connor's team for all of their hard work in this. And a lot of interviewing going on, hence why it's a really big push to bring on that HR generalist. I've been trying to sit in on as many as possible, which is challenging at times, but we're averaging about 30 interviews a month. And I believe I sat in on the majority of those, a lot of them being Vernon Manor. The neighborhood clinic balance currently is at 4802 for the beginning of the year. We had 6 new hires in January, 5 separations of employment, some of those being just on-call staff that haven't worked. So they were just, you haven't been here for X amount of months, we're just going to remove you from the schedule type situations. Current employee count is around 429 approximately. And then these are some of our current positions. I did note on here where we're kind of at in the process at this time. We do have several intern positions that have been posted gearing up for the summer. And then I also listed out more specifically what the Vernon Manor nursing needs are. Any questions?
I do have a question because you indicate there that the diversity training out of 125 employees at Vernon Manor, Vernon Acres. At the last board meeting, I think we were told there's 81 employees out there.
I counted the list that they use for sign-in. So the list that they provided to me that they use for sign-in, that is what I count.
Okay.
Interesting.
Possibly, but
I don't know.
when I'm looking at the list, they had only included employee, but.
Jennifer, you have your hand up?
That could have included the contracted staff such as MJ Care or any other contracted staff. They were also included in the invite. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Perfect. I was not aware of that.
Thanks, Jen.
And of the 429 current employees, does that include contracted staff?
That does not, right, Jen? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
That doesn't, the 429 that I reported for our current approximate number, that does not include contracted. We do not, those are not in.
Correct. That does not include contracted staff.
I just wanted her to confirm, so I didn't put it in correctly, because I did on the other one. I didn't know that they had invited.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Trish?
Nope.
Not hearing any. We're going to move on to IT. What'd you say?
Okay.
Okay, Department and Help Desk report. I mean, I can.
This,
I can.
this,
Nope.
this.
Yeah.
Work with that.
All right. These metrics are reported on January. So looking at the help desk in January, we had 250 tickets open in January that concluded last month. Looking at last January, we had 246 open, so a titch higher, but on par from the expected numbers. And then, quite an uptick from December, but that's to be expected as reported last month. Help desk by category, 73% in the software related, 8.5 is hardware related. 7.4 is phone related. Another 7.4 is employment, and 3.7 is uncategorized. Office moves and new office creations. We had 3 new office creations in the month of January, primarily making and rectifying new offices for the new positions created in 2024. Open tickets, as of January 31st, our help desk help meter is in good standing. We had 250 tickets open. We have 22 tickets outstanding yet in the queue. That leaves us with 91.2% closed and 8.8 open. We just rolled over a new year, so we have a whole slew of devices to replace in 2024. 60 devices are on the replacement schedule for 24. We have 1 completed so far. Cybersecurity metrics. The county overall sat at a 27.9% safety score. Under 20% is in that green category. That's a positive threshold to have your organization. We always strive to be in that green. We're sitting, fair. So always room for improvement there in cybersecurity, but not in poor condition. We had 8 failed phishing attempts in the month of January. And then a few other metrics to report. We have 0 devices out for repair as of the end of month in January, and our cumulative system uptime sat at 96.352%. So that's right on par for what we expect in a month with a normal maintenance outage of 3 hours. All in all, January was busy for help desk, but was good overall. That's what I have to report on the help desk. What's going on in the IT department? As always, just make this as brief as possible. Our PSAP project update, we're looking for a late April cutover for our next gen 911 equipment. Still a lot of moving parts there, but we're excited to get that all wrapped up here in the next few months. We're looking to release our RFP. That's the next agenda item. I can discuss that a little bit further when we get to that, but we're looking to get a new phone system countywide there. As far as our timeline on our government domains, so converting our email addresses to .govs, our website, and any other subsidiary device that is hosted by Vernon County. The federal government website hosted by CISA is up and running. I processed the remaining paperwork and submitted that request to them to finalize that. It's in review status, so we should hear back within the next 60 days on if they will award us with a .gov domain and what .gov domain they will give us. It'll either be vernoncounty.gov, vernoncountywi.gov, or vernoncountywisconsin.gov will be our new domain. Briefly touch on our ERP system, our ERP system countywide. It was submitted as an RFP. Vendors bid on that. We closed the bidding period on that, and we reviewed demonstrations with the 3 vendors that bid on that. We have gathered all who have attended those collective collaboration and opinions on the demonstrations that were conveyed here in this boardroom. And we're looking to make a recommendation to the finance committee to accept one of those bids this month. Our HRIS payroll system, as Tricia reported on, is underway. Contract was signed, bid was awarded there. We had our kickoff meeting a few weeks back. A lot of the preliminary framework has begun as far as IT rectification and development there. And just, getting all of the needed pieces to the puzzle in order for them to stand up our solution and deploy that on the 19th of this month. And what that means is the 19th is simply a day that they're going to take all of the data that we submitted and build our solution in their ecosystem. And then after that, the hard work on our side will really begin as far as the migration and setting up fields and process flow and how we want that to look like.
You said April 19th?
April 19th, yep.
So starting May will really be
Mhm.
the heavy hitting for you all.
Yep. So heavy workloads next few months, but it'll all be worth it in the end. Website redesign is underway as well. Contracts were signed there. The redesign process is lengthy. There is a lot of decisions to be made and how we want the framework allotted. We have our kickoff call with Revise scheduled for the 29th of this month. At the same time, our website development or website internal committee meets monthly. But a lot of the preliminary framework has been completed and design tasks have been slated as far as rough drafts and whatnot. We picked out some colors last time we met, so there's definitely progress underway there, but we'll really start to hit the 52 to 56 week process, so a good year. We're shooting for a new website in January of 24 or 25, excuse me. Still getting used to the new year. New positions throughout the county. We are well underway of getting all of those set up and operational. We got that new position, child support position, hired and onboarded in DHS. New office created. We just set up our new land and water position last week, and that's ready for the new individual to take that office. Our building and facilities is working on the veterans new office right now. We're looking to get equipment set up as soon as that is concluded. The HR position is roughly set up. We got a little of wiring to do yet there and finalization there, but we'll be on track for when that offer is extended. And then we're working on the IT position as well. So building and facilities modified a space for us and running some wires and getting everything ready there as well.
Veterans divisions, did you mention veterans?
Yeah,
Oh, you did.
veterans, yep. As you saw in the help desk report, our 2024 replacement cycle is a little heavier than last year. So we have a lot on the docket. We have a lot of equipment to get in and out of our doors this year. We have desktops, laptops, monitors, tough books, all-in-ones for the nursing facilities. So we'll have, very heavy workload this year on top of all of our other projects, but that has all been ordered. And if you're combing through the invoices, you might see some heavy months here. What's going on at the sheriff's office? Our Axon deployment solution has been commenced as of yesterday. I have Chris outside on site there, working with the Axon team. They have 5 guys over there, totally revamping all the squad cars, taking all the technology out. So this is customer cam, so the folks that sit in the back, the dash cam, body cam, and then there's a bunch of triggers now throughout the squads as well. So when they turn on their license sirens, when they unholster anything, it's all recorded and all up to date. So big progress and big installation underway, but we hope to have that wrapped up by the end of this week. And our deputies will be using that new solution starting next Monday. So that'll be good. Enhanced email filtering rollout will occur next Monday, the 12th as well. There will be a countywide email that I'll send out either today or tomorrow, depending on my schedule, but That just means that our email filtering policies and enhancements have gotten better as threat actors have gotten more robust and advanced. We need to keep up as well. It's a big game of chess. So we're increasing our defenses as well. So this is helping with macros that come across in any of the Word or Excel or Office-based applications. It's linkage, it's reputation filtering, it's, credential harvesting. I could go on for a long time, but we're enhancing our efforts. It should result in staff and board members seeing less junk in their inbox, or junk at least segregated to specific folders. We'll trying to curb marketing emails as well. That's a hard one to do because they're legitimate, but they're non-productive. So we'll be putting a folder in everybody's inbox called non-productive emails, and all those marketing emails filtered through there.
I need that like for life.
Broadband expansion. This has been a hot topic for all 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, and just nationwide. There's funding out there through the infrastructure bills. There's funding through the BEAD grants. There's RDOF money out there. There's a lot of different avenues for funding there. But the state of Wisconsin has a goal for the state, and that's broadband equity for all. So getting everyone broadband, just as they have electricity, running water, roads to get to point A to point B. Broadband is reaching that extent, and we've been really working heavily with ISPs in this area, all of them that serve Vernon County, to get data points on who is served, underserved, and unserved. And those underserved and unserved are the folks that are eligible for grant and funding opportunities. And 2024 is the year to get that done, because the money is available, especially with the BEAD grant. There's 3 rounds of BEAD funding, and they're trying to get all of those projects funded and dollars out the door. It'll be a lengthy window. Broadband expansion doesn't happen overnight. You have to lay lines in the ground. You have to uproot things. You have to, run cables to customers. It's a big project. So we're hoping that the broadband expansion efforts will commence this year, but we'll be tracking those until 2030 is when they have to report their completion of those projects. So the role of the county in this is essentially to work with all the ISPs to get their vision and essentially, draw out, here's a map of Vernon County. This area is underserved. This area is served. This area is unserved. And just ensuring that everyone's working collaboratively so that the whole county in whole is, completely equitable and everyone is served. And sometimes that collaboration doesn't come natively with ISPs, and having those communications and ensuring that people are aware of these funding opportunities and applying for these funding opportunities as well. And broadband is such a difficult topic, but you could have 2 address points, one on each side of the road, one that's unserved and the other one that has great internet. So it's ensuring that those address points are reflective of the data that the PSC has, and the ISPs are reporting that those residents have as well. And just a big collaboration effort. If you want to learn more about this, we're having a workshop or a broadband meeting April 16th from 9 to 4. I realize that's a county board day, I believe, but if you get out of here at a reasonable time, stop on over. It's hosted at the sheriff's office. We'll have folks from Madison there. We'll have UW Extension folks, our internal working group there. We'll have ISPs there. We'll have residents of the county there. Just really displaying what our work for the broadband expansion efforts this year and into the future are going to be. Other than that, regular order of business, busy as always.
Mm.
Give the floor back to the next
Thank
agenda.
you.
Yeah.
Questions for Connor?
Connor, how's it going with people taking those sessions on Be Known? The
Be Known.
computer, whatever that,
No,
how is
before
that
the-
like?
No.
No before.
No.
Yeah. To answer your question, Know Before is our training platform that we onboard new staff and then conduct, simulated phishing attempts and do security awareness training annually to all staff. And I actually just checked the metrics yesterday. They weren't looking terrible, but we definitely have folks that yet need to get that completed. I think, let me give you accurate numbers here. I think there was like 150 outstanding or so.
Just had to do it for work. Can I send you that certificate?
154 incomplete, 101 completed, 8 in progress. So
So what can you do to encourage people to take that? Because I did mine, but there was one part that I had to do 3 times. So I think it's a super important task that people need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of email follow-ups, chatting with their department head and making sure that they're aware that it's incomplete. And then we plan to disable their account and they can take it directly in IT too.
Well, that'll
Like
wake
a
'em up.
reminder, like a mass reminder email.
Yeah.
How about county board supervisors? Has everybody taken it?
No,
About 50-50 there.
I have not.
There were 2 different deadlines. The original announcement came out January 31st, I think, and the second, there's a date in April. I don't know which one is.
The date in April, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it, there's the reason that soft deadline of next year was in place is because in order to create the campaign, if they don't complete it by that date in April, we'll take corrective action to ensure that they complete it. But in order to complete that campaign, it still needs to be open for a duration. It was just easier to put a 12-month duration in there.
Oh, you mean that January is for next year, not?
It said January 25.
Oh, didn't catch that. I thought it said 24.
I did. I was wondering, why am I doing this now, but it's not due for a year?
Yep. So the April timeline is when we're requiring that to be completed. And if they don't, we'll know and we'll follow up.
Thanks.
Why would you put that date out so far?
Because we understand that, schedules are busy. There's part-time employees that may not work all the time. There's, just schedules are hectic. When I did it last year, we had a 30-day window and we had hardly any completion during that 30-day window.
Okay, any other questions for Connor on his report? Not hearing any, let's move to RFP or voice over internet protocol solution.
Yes, VoIP.
VoIP.
Everyone wants to talk about that. New phone system for the county. So before you, you may have received a copy or a printed copy, but I created a RFP for a VoIP phone system for Vernon County. It's about 21 pages. I can happy to go through that. I spent many months racking my brain on what Vernon County needs in a phone system, how it can be utilized across all departments efficiently, effectively, how we can introduce mobility, how we can have enhanced reporting, and have sustainability in a phone system as well, and even what we need for a county, what we utilize today, what we don't utilize, and what we wish to see. So there's,
You somewhat surveyed like department heads and such to see what they wanted, right?
yeah, there was a lot of work that went into this behind the scenes. There was there was a department head meeting discussion on this. Actually, two of those. There was a survey that went out to all department heads. I went around and interviewed folks around the county, receptionists, dispatch, standard phone users, a member at the nurse's station, and different facets of the county that use the phone system, what they like, what they dislike, how they use the phone system, and what they want to see in a future phone system. Wrote that all down, took that into consideration, and really drilled and pushed all that into one solidified RFP that was restrictive enough to give vendors, a broad overview of what Vernon County is looking for, but broad enough to have vendors bid on it. So that's what you have before you today.
Well, first I want to say I very much appreciate your approach to all these big projects really starts with getting information, seeking clarity from the people who have to use that, and then building from there. And I just want to note that because that's not always what people do. And I think it has more buy-in in the future, and it's more meaningful because it's addressing people who are actually working with these systems. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Me too.
Thanks, David.
Gary?
Question regarding the nursing home. Does this take into account room phones?
It does not, no. So room phones, resident phones, both in Vernon Manor and Acres are handled a little bit differently. And if you're aware of those facilities, room phones within Vernon Manor are funded by as part of their stay. And it's a service they provide. In Vernon Acres, it's more of a assisted living environment, so they can procure their own phone service, telephone service, internet service if they wish. All of those are the Vernon Acres, that's kind of an apartment. You go and rent an apartment and you can procure whatever you desire. In Vernon Manor, it's standard, there's a phone in every room. They can call in, they can call out, they have a standard number, but that is out of scope. That's a traditional phone line. So those two facilities, as far as the residents are concerned, that's out of scope in the countywide RFP, but this addresses all of the county office phones, hallway phones, vestibule phones, mobility of phones, call recording, text messaging. The overarching goal is to curb our use case for having county funded cell phones. That was really a topic of discussion as well. And then we have 9 fax lines in use throughout the county as well, and that's out of scope as well. Those will continue to operate.
And the cell phones are out of scope, or are they in?
So that's a complex, multifaceted topic. This solution, depending on what vendor bids on it, they will have different, solutions for that. But the goal here is mobility, and that's a capability that Vernon County doesn't have in their phone system today. They can't receive calls outside of a county building. They can't make calls from a county phone number. Some folks have a county-owned cell phone, some do not. It's a smorgasbord of what is actually in use today. But if mobility is properly addressed by the vendor, the use case for having a county-issued phone would be nullified.
Okay, thank you.
Won't some of them systems board rates that say my phone if it was set up that way, right?
Correct.
And then I could call from my phone using my county number.
Yes, yep. There would be a segmented application on your phone that all the numbers would reside in, your call logs. You could receive calls, you could make calls, and you could handle all that county business in a segmented platform that doesn't touch your text messaging, doesn't touch your normal call log, anything like that.
Will it also work through Teams where you could use your laptop to make a phone call?
It's proposed in here, it's up to the vendor if they have that integration, but ideally, the preferred vendor would have that integration.
That's where you get true mobility.
Correct, yep.
So from us, you need a motion to approve going forward with the RFP.
Yep, the posting of the RFP.
We have a
Dave?
motion.
I missed the month.
Mary
Okay.
Bringy,
Second.
Mary Meehan Struve. Mary Bringy, did you have anything to add? I just want to make sure.
No, I've been listening carefully and I
Okay.
agree that most definitely the residents at Vernon Manor shouldn't be part of the phone system. So,
Oli, do you have anything? Right now. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor of moving forward with the RFP for the
Yep,
VoIP
telephony, VoIP, it works hand in hand, but however you want to say
VoIP solution. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Connor.
Yep.
A lot.
Thank you all. Just to give you just a high level cadence on timelines there. So you approved the RFP for posting. I will post this next Monday, February 12th. That was conveyed to vendors that I have been having rough communications with. They'll be sent out in all the channels. If they have questions on the RFP, they have till March 1st to submit the questions to me. I will then answer them by March 8th. The proposals are due back here to March 12th, and then we'll have set up demonstrations between March 12th and April 19th, and we'll award a solution on
Okay.
April 19th.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.
All right, buildings and facilities, department report. Hello, Phil.
Anyhow.
Can I ask Connor a question? So
Yes.
if we award March 19th, when will the new phones be?
See you.
Depending on vendor,
Good to see you.
in procurement timeline and implementation, most phone systems take between 8 and 12 weeks to implement. So maybe at the soonest, June, July.
Thanks. Bill.
Alrighty, short and sweet. In association with all the new hires, we are doing some interior remodels of existing offices, not really increasing our square footage, but making offices within to accommodate the new staff. We got one that we actually are getting some grant money through the veterans to offset that budget, so that's good news. The RFP is out. I've contacted two of our vendors that are good to get proposals. The other ones have not called me back yet. Did you need that?
RFP for what?
Garbage and recycling services. The farm contract obviously has been let. I don't know, have you heard anything from them, Jerry?
Signed, sealed, and delivered.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Perfect.
This a city and the county.
Perfect.
And I have a proof certificate of insurance.
Perfect. I say I discussed with him and told him he needed to get a hold of Jerry and go through the process. That's it. Come on. I'm good to go,
Signed, sealed, delivered with the first person.
unless there's any questions.
We had a backup, but the first one did. Also,
I have a question.
Yes.
Road weight restrictions.
Tomorrow,
Really?
short and sweet.
Until April?
No.
till.
Any other questions for Phil? I don't know what you said over there. I didn't hear so good.
Road bands.
how much road gas?
No, not hearing any?
Nope.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, thank you, Phil.
I'm gonna we stay longer.
Okay, moving on, legal and policy. Nothing there, right?
Nothing there.
Okay,
Here
so
for
then
questions, but otherwise, no.
you and administration. So let's jump into policy 409, emergency closings.
Yeah.
Is that
So
why,
Brandon's up here too. So, you remember that one week when we had like 2 really bad snowstorms? Um,
1 week?
and and at that point in time was getting this influx of department heads reaching out, wondering if they can close their offices. Didn't really have anything to go off of policy wise, as my role is not currently defined in the emergency closings policy.
Okay.
Discussed with Brandon back and forth about the chair and the chair's role in those closings. We wrote it right now. We left it in as far as who makes that decision. So the proposal would be that the county board chair, sheriff, highway commissioner, emergency management director, and myself would meet, usually when we're getting these big snowstorms, whatever, we know it's coming, and we can have that meeting, the day prior, or at least touch base on what our plan is. So that is in 2.1. Brandon had made recommendations for 3 under official announcements that we just removed that list. Some of those he's not currently using, and just reference the media list group kept by the emergency management director. There is no email group called emergency notification, right? So a lot of this is just updating to reflect what we're currently doing. Partial closings, 5.1. Had the county board chair may order certain departments closed. Have the option in there for the administrative coordinator. And then 7.3, just reflecting that in the event where the county decides to close operations before the normal business day has begun, employees would pay for a full day. So this is only if we as a county are ordering the building closed and telling people you have to go home.
How often has that actually happened?
Brandon?
Been here 6.5 years and it was done once.
So when an employee is like, I can't get there because I can't leave my driveway, that's like a PTO situation,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, this policy only applies if that group decides that in the best interest of our employees, safety, whatever.
So this is really more of a cleanup. It's not like we use this very often, but when you looked at it, it was dated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you saying that in 7.3, if you don't open up, you're still going to pay them a full day?
Yes. That's what it
Yeah, if
says.
we're ordering the building closed, then yes.
So do the highway workers who are out on that day get overtime?
See, and this is where it's hard to have a countywide policy where you have employees that are required. to
No,
come to
because
work
you
with their
didn't shut down their
department.
job. What they're saying is if like they shut down their job for a day, they get paid for it.
So then my question is if they can go to work, why can't these people go to work?
Well, I think that's evident in that it's happened one time in 6 years.
Still saying.
I've been requested multiple times to shut down the highways, which I chose not to. Nothing to do with Bill.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Yes, what you're saying.
Well, I've come from the mindset of government doesn't shut down. And so if you shut it down and they don't come to work at all, I'm not sure why we are paying them.
What if it's a gas leak? and it's
Because you're
not supposed to?
taking,
Same thing. If you shut down and they can't come,
so is your beef on that, not, you just wouldn't pay them?
well, that would be one of the things that I see here. Yeah. Because you've also got it, if they close after normal hours begin and you're sending them home. Always came from, we give them the option if they choose to go home, they can use their PTO or whatever, otherwise they can stay and work.
But in this choice, I don't have I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's where the
Mhm.
is that if we're ordering the business closed versus, allowing
Mhm.
flexibility to, leave early if
Mhm.
they have travel concerns or.
Mhm. But if they've never started, they never left their home.
I mean, it's just one play, but if we close the store early due to weather, I don't pay them. I don't penalize them either. I don't make them take
It's
PTO.
like an unpaid.
It's just how they want to manage their compensation is up to them, but. So it's not like it's not
Right.
mandatory.
You're not forced to.
That's just a different perspective.
Mhm. And then my other question relates to, and I don't know what it was like before. You've got 5 or 6 different people there that are going to make the decision. I would expect that it's one that makes the decision, and if they choose to involve the others, that's their choice. But if you can't reach the county board chair, which one of those people's in charge? And to me, it would have been administrative coordinator. But
The decision before you today.
So Mary, go ahead.
Okay, I looked at that too, and you have a list of like 5 or 6 people. I'm not opposed to more than one person having that decision, but I do think that you should have at least 2 of the people on that list. And I really do think, I agree with Mary Meehan Stroop that we are government and we should stay open if at all possible. But anyway, and I also think that the county board chair at least should be one of the people that is part of this decision, because that's an elected decision or an elected position, and that's just part of why we elect people. So,
And Brandon and I discussed that about who's going to take who has that ultimate decision and who's going to take the heat for making that ultimate decision.
that's why 2 is a good number, at least.
You need to blame somebody.
So, okay, this is where I hear everything you're saying, and I think that's good. This is where like I get a little blurry, like what's policy and what's practice and how much needs to be in the policy. Because ideally, y'all want to be aligned. Like that's the hope is that you're all on the call, so you're all like in support of the decision.
Exactly.
So that might not be realistic always. So are you wanting to add like a sentence in here that says the county board chair, like at minimum county board chair and one other must have the authority to make the decision? Or are we getting too granular between a policy and a procedure?
I would just say it needs to be the county board chair and your administrative coordinator. And I'm assuming that that coordinator will have contacted the sheriff and the emergency government people to see where their status is, but that's their choice as administrative coordinator. Because when that person then talks to the chair, that's what they'll tell them.
Yeah, this guy's got his ear to the ground, minute by minute.
Well, I hear what Mary's saying, like the hierarchy, and then because administrative coordinator would be talking to your department heads. What do y'all want to do?
I'll move that it be changed or amend, this policy as proposed be amended to have the decision under 2.1 made by the county board chair and the administrative coordinator, and then it could be or designees.
Brandon?
I may add, maybe just to add to that, Mary, maybe put in consultation with those other 3, just so it's for as many as possible.
That means procedure.
It could be, I look at it when we declare a disaster, the board chair makes that decision to go declare a disaster, but I'm always talking with them, highway sheriff, everybody else. So does it need to be in there? But just something to think about, is.
Well, who makes the decision? Procedure is how he arrives at that decision.
Okay.
I would really suggest the committee reconsider it, consider including impasse breaking authority as any court would do in the context of court orders. If you get two individuals joint authority, you're going to also present yourself with times of potential inaction unless you include an impasse breaking authority. So that is a policy decision, and either way is okay. You're just presenting with the current form an opportunity for no resolution or action.
So when you use fancy words like impasse authority, you're meaning the other people on the list.
No,
What do you mean?
I'm meaning that the chair and the administrative coordinator shall jointly determine whether or not the county is closed. In instances wherein those parties cannot come to a joint agreement, individual X shall have the impasse breaking authority.
Okay, between the two.
Correct.
Who breaks the tie?
That's for you guys to determine.
But that's what you're saying essentially.
Well,
And it is a suggestion. It's not required, but.
No, I understand.
And you're setting yourself up for times of inaction if not.
Dave?
The chair is here. I'd like to hear his perspective.
I was just gonna say, the way, in reality, how it's gonna work is, weatherman's gonna say, hey, we got some big storm coming in, that being Brandon right now. Should, maybe think about closing down, Phil, how's the roads gonna be? The sheriff, how dangerous is this? Let's talk to Cassie. You think we should close? And Cassie's gonna either say yes or no, and then she's gonna call the chair. If he's not available, they're gonna, whatever is prudent as far as closing it down. I don't know how you're gonna put that into writing or not. That's what's.
So in that hypothetical, my point is if you and Cassie, the roles, not the individuals, it's not going to happen with you two, but we get somebody down the road. What if there's just two folks who don't get along well and you got this context, who do you guys want?
Cassie says stays open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who makes that? Who would make that decision? Emergency management, sheriff?
again, could I have when we're looking at these lists, I know, I really feel it should be the sheriff simply because once again, it's an elected position. I just, and they're gonna know about highway conditions, they're gonna know about, because that's just part of their job. And I think they certainly should be, asking highway, consulting these people. We all realize that's what they're going to do. But I do agree that maybe 3 is a good number because if you got 3, something's got to be done. A decision has to be made. But I'm saying let's put the sheriff down.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who's the first to get notification about pending weather or disaster? Are you in your position or is it the sheriff's office?
I get direct communication from, if it's weather, I get direct communication from the weather service. The dispatch center, I think, is also on that list, but it goes to the generic dispatch email. I don't know that the sheriff is directly getting those. But when I get them, I pass them out to pass it out to everybody. So usually it comes to me and dispatch centers, but so if he's not around or said it goes to their generic email, I believe.
What if it read, we're blurring a little bit, but what if it read, in the event that Vernon County is forced to close or delay the opening, decision to do so will be made by the county board chair and the administrative coordinator in consultation with sheriff, highway emergency director in the event of, I don't know, not a tie, whatever, impasse.
Impasse breaking authority.
The county board chair. prevails.
Shall have ultimate decision-making authority.
How's that sound to
I got it.
everybody?
The only thing I would say is something about upon consultation with her. I'm not exact. Anyway, I just thought it should be after consultation with.
Okay.
That was all.
Okay. That's fine.
Mary Bringy.
Well, and I don't want to ignore these other very important people, but, Brandon's a great guy. We know that, and he does his job very well, but we don't know. Next year, maybe there'll be somebody else doing his job. And
They'll just want to close all the time.
no, but what I'm saying is, let's designate these people, and we expect them to consult, and we can put that in there, that they need to consult. If they're smart, they consult.
That satisfy the room
Yes.
in this,
I have a comment.
unlike this thing that happened one time in 6 years. Yes, Mary.
Well, okay. So this last storm in that week, there was on Facebook that Roy asked people not to travel on the road. So stay home. With that being posted on the web, on his Facebook, what was happening in the office? Were we open? Not open?
No, we closed the offices here,
Okay.
but there was not
So-
consistency. That was the problem. And that's what we're
Right.
trying to get to is a consistent, hey, we're closing the building at 1:00. That's not how it went down.
Okay.
It was
That's
1:00 here,
what
2:00 here,
Yeah.
Gary trying to round up people. It wasn't pretty.
Stay here with me, but anyway, from between noon and 2, everything shut down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we cleared up that language. I don't know, did we decide, are people getting paid for a full day?
I missed that part.
I
I
said no.
jumped to 7.3.
There's 6.2 and 7.3.
There is a difference between being sent home early and not coming in at all. Looks like they both said they'll get paid.
Yeah, 6.2 is current policy. So if employees are sent home early, they will receive full pay for the day. And then 7.3 addresses what happens if we close before the day has begun.
7.3.
Yeah.
We don't have a
It
7.
looks like it used to say they wouldn't be paid, but we're changing it to say that they would be paid.
Well, I would just say that possibly, this is an option that they have the option to use their PTO. Okay,
Versus automatic pay.
versus no pay.
Right, yeah.
Mhm,
So reverting to the original language there.
mhm.
Seems like a version.
What are you saying?
This is bigger. I don't know. This is small. Hard to read. I can't read it.
Okay, anybody, so that Mary, are you proposing just staying with the original?
I'm rereading it, yeah. Yes. Mhm.
Dave, Mary Bringy?
Well, someone just referred to policy 7.3. I have 7.2.
But then there's a change. I don't know what to say. You don't have a change under 7 point?
No, I do not.
It was in
So
your
I'm-
packet?
Well, I'm looking right at it. It's
I
not
don't
here.
know.
7.3 previously stated that employees not returning to work would not be paid. However, such employees may use paid time off or comp time. And they were deleting that to say,
I'll pull it up on the screen too, Jerry. So you don't have to read the whole thing.
in the event the county decides to close operations before a person gets to work, they would be paid for the day, even though they didn't come in.
There it is. You see it?
I gotta share it first.
Never mind.
Okay, I'm gonna, because it's not in the copy I've got.
I see you. Just give me a sec.
What page? Page?
There's no page, but it's on the fourth page
Have it?
of what was.
Okay, there it is, but it's not on my copy. Okay,
So it's really saying, are we going to add if the county closes their building and you don't come to work, you get paid for the full day? Like you have you're still in your pajamas. They've called the day off.
okay, I'm reading it now. I say we leave it where it was, with 7.3,
And not the change.
not the change, but that's my feeling.
Who's changed? You?
Me? No, I'm a bystander here.
It's a proposed change that was
I
here.
think it was gaining consistency because earlier, am I right about that? Earlier in the policy, it says if someone's working and they get sent home, they get paid for the whole day. Versus if you are ready to go to work and they say you can't go to work, then you'd still get paid for the whole day. To me, it reads like a consistency thing.
And that's
Jill?
what Brandon and I discussed.
I
Jill?
just wanted to point out that if our office closes, like my department still has to have employees able to work. So like if there's just could be some language, surrounding that.
Like remote work?
Well, we have to be available 24/7. So even if our buildings are closed, we have to hire somebody or somebody has to be available to still be working.
Are you talking on call, Jill?
Well, typically we'd be on call, but in this situation, it's not on call because we've closed a building. So then I have to still pay that employee to be working.
Yeah, and that, Jill, that's actually in our current policy, and should be shared on the screen here too. 7.2. Employees working in operations where they must report to work due to the nature of the service being provided will be required to complete the normal workday. That's in our current policy.
I'm just gonna say that all of our public school employees are paid when they're still in their pajamas.
Not necessarily. They have contracted days. And if it goes over a certain number, they have to make those days up. So they're not just
Well, they
automatic.
can get a waiver.
So don't use that example.
Okay.
They can get a waiver, Mary, and generally that's what happens. And then they're continue the meeting.
Well,
I don't have an opinion. I think I mean, maybe that's rare that I just said I don't have an opinion, but I can understand why you're trying to gain consistency. If you come to work and you get sent home and you're paying them for a full day when they get sent home, then how is it different if work's been called off? So to me, it's like you got to do both. You either like paying the half day out and let them use PTO or pay the full day. And I don't know then that's perceived as like taking a benefit away. Lauren.
I think for paying people that aren't gonna show up, it's gonna create a lot of inconsistency for the ones that don't have any choice except to show up. Like in cooks and
very true.
then people have to show up, your dispatchers have to show up, there's no problem, guys gotta show up. And so if you close it down and half the people get to stay home with pay and the other half to come in no matter what. When I was at train company, if we had really bad weather, we didn't have to come in. We could use PTO unrestricted. They could say, well, not today. And if you had perfect attendance going, they wouldn't take it away from you. You weren't penalized for staying home, but you weren't incentivized for staying home either. I mean, people that live, you might live right there. You can make it to work, but if you're going to get paid for staying home, you're going to stay there.
Fair point.
And that part of the, you live where you live and you take the risk of not being able to know, there are some places in our township, you can't get out of half the time, you get a little bit of snow. Out there where Amy lives.
Maddie. So leave it
But yeah.
the way it was.
I would like to see it left the way it is because I see this being a big problem in the nursing home. They have to come to work.
So Mary, how do you feel about if they come in and the building closes at noon and they go home for the rest of the day because the building closed, so should they be paid for the afternoon or should they?
I kind of think we use PTO time. Or they have the option to use that. I'm not going to be everybody's best friend, but.
That's 6.2.
PTO or unpaid leave if they choose?
Yes.
Motion can do that.
To make those changes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mary Bringy. Okay, so for clarity, you are saying on 7.3, go back to what it was.
Correct.
And then
6.2.
6.2, if employees are sent home early, they are able, you'll polish this up,
Yeah, I'll
to
use
utilize
that same link.
PTO or unpaid
That's it.
time at their discretion.
7.3. I'll just grab that thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 All right.
We gonna? Boy.
I don't know. We haven't.
Foley, are you on?
He's muted right now.
All right, let's move to, thanks, Brandon. I do have just like, if someone were to say, I don't need to go home, I can stay and work.
If the building's closed, they can't. For, safety
For
reasons.
safety and,
But I could say, okay, put your computer and work.
yeah, okay.
The other thing is, did that motion include the change that you had suggested earlier to 2.1?
Yes, that's all in the minutes. It's gonna include
Okay, just wanted.
the revisions to 2.1.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We're basically approving this policy as revised.
Okay.
That's the motion.
Connor?
I guess just a clarifying question to that last point that was brought up, if the building closes, we're requiring all employees in that building to depart.
Yeah.
How does that work? Like IT, are we authorizing remote work then at that point?
I think
That'd be a
so.
department head decision, wouldn't it?
Yep.
If you're gonna allow remote work.
That day, Jen and I were because we could.
Okay.
I mean, some of this, the landscape of some of this has changed with the implementation of the ability to work more remote. Okay, Vernon County Board of Supervisors, rules of the board revisions. Cassie.
Yes. So we sent the board rules out to the current board members, asked for feedback. Took that feedback we received.
Do you want to put it up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Scroll through this while I'm talking.
Yep.
Here because there's multiple pages.
The first change on 2.
So major changes was the change from administrator to administrative coordinator. Updated that in anywhere it was referenced in the board rules. Added a designation of sergeant at arms. So just designated the sheriff as the sergeant at arms during a board meeting in case anything gets out of hand. I mean, I think we all know that that's how it would go anyways, but you know, to lay it out in the board rules, I think is appropriate. There was some cleanup language under public participation, and we wanted to make sure that that language was consistent between both committee and board meetings. So you'll see a lot of changes there. And then just consistency, it's called public comment in one section, audience to visitors in another. So clean that up. Clarified the 4 minutes for public participation, as that's what current practice is. Limited. This is one that we did add that's not currently in our board rules. So comments should be limited to subjects which are relevant to the jurisdiction of the county board, and exclude subjects for which the federal, state, or local governments are solely responsible, and subjects not the responsibility of any level of government. Honestly, we had this discussion before the committee meeting too, is this serving as a guideline. You don't necessarily know what someone's going to comment on before they start. The distribution of materials. So distribution of materials by anyone other than county staff must be requested through the clerk and approved by county board chair. This just helps us vet the information that's given to the county board members. The use of props, including signs, are not allowed during a county board meeting. I've heard this comment from a few people, just that we're not, coming in and one of the board meetings, we had a sign posted on the back of the wall, and just, I think, Jerry, what are your comments on that and how we?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maintaining a level of professionalism, I think, with the county board meeting. Obviously, these are board rules, not being Jerry's rules, so these are recommendations for some of these. That was section 4. In section 5, under procedural rules, just outlining if there are conflicts between state statute, ordinances, board rules, and Robert's Rules of Order, how we handle those if a conflict exists. So outlining the level of precedence.
Okay.
Because there are things in Robert's Rules of Order that will not apply to the county board.
That could conflict with state statute or with.
So this is saying state statutes, that's the order in which we'll.
Yeah,
If there's a conflict.
if there's a,
Yeah.
That's the order recommended by the Wisconsin County Association.
Oh, super.
yes. Bottom of page 4. We've played with the electronic voting a little bit during board meetings. So just to include that when available, board members may use the electronic voting system available to them. We're still working out some of those kinks. So just wanted to include that now while we're updating. Bottom of page 5. Board members are highly encouraged to attend closed session meetings in person. Board members participating remotely are still bound by all the requirements of a closed session. We've had some challenges with this, just, if we're, especially with our full board meetings, if someone's participating remotely and, if we've had to clear out the third floor or, if you're, the speakers are loud and it's really hard sometimes to facilitate that. So just encouraging in-person participation when able. Page 6. Updated that to reflect our current policy. So the purchasing and procurement policy and the travel and expense reimbursement policies that were approved by the board in the last few months. And then just some cleanup things in the definitions to reflect current practice. There.
Which Mary? Mary
Meehanster.
Mary Meehanster. I'm looking at my screens. Mary Meehanster.
Well, I'm gonna start back where she was at, under that budgeting and purchasing, where you've edited that to include the provisions for county purchasing. Because there's often a lot of comments about what does the board vote on or don't vote on, and committees have that issue as well, since with this change. And is it 500,000 or more that the board has to vote on, or what's the magic number?
500,000 or more goes to finance committee.
Okay.
Collection for budgeted purchases.
Okay.
If it's, if it's something significant and it's unbudgeted, it would end up at the full board as it would be a budget.
Okay, so otherwise nothing comes to the board for approval for finances then?
Not if it's a budgeted item.
Okay.
So that's where the purchasing and procurement policy really like separates that out.
I was just thinking that, if there's a dollar limit that it has to come to the board, let's put it in here so that it clears it. But if there's nothing there, then we don't need to do that. Okay. Working backwards. Can I offer clarification? I think that was Mary. Mary?
No, Bobby. That was Bobby.
Sorry.
For the budgeting policy, that's being drafted, it'll go to department heads. Typically what happens that go to county board are budget amendments because we have to publish them, but also use of contingency funds would be part of county board approval.
But that doesn't need to be in the board rules.
It's reflected in the
Okay.
purchasing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay, I'm going back to number 4 and your item about props and signs. And I understand why you're saying it, but you do need to remember that sometimes if you have architects, planners, design people come in to present, they oftentimes have their items displayed on easels and they refer to them. And this would eliminate that.
No, I think this is for public comment. Or audience to visitors. What do we call it? Which one are we?
Yeah.
This says rules for public participation. And they are public.
But aren't they agenda? They're on the agenda.
Public participation is the public participation piece.
Under the public audience to visitors is what you're referring that to
Yeah.
then? Okay. Okay. And then under, this is just a question I have, and I'll ask it for you, Nikki, because I asked it of Jerry and Cassie before. And under number 2 in the first paragraph, at the first meeting where you come for the organization of a new county board, the current rules say that the county clerk runs the meeting until a board chair is elected. And it was my understanding that the board chair is in office until a new board chair is appointed.
It'll take me very little time to confirm after the meeting with looking into Attorney General opinions that I'm making sure I'm telling you correctly when I say this now. My understanding is statutorily, the chair is who governs at the organizational meeting until the election of the new chair. That's in chapter 59, that statute's there. However, that's the fallback unless the board rules delegate that authority from the board to the clerk,
Yes.
as is the case here. So what I'm telling you is I believe that the board rules are consistent with the board's lawful authority to say, we're going to decide instead of having our chair pursuant to statute that we're going to delegate that to the clerk. And either option would be okay and legally permissible. With all that said, I'd want to circle back to OAG opinions on that organizational meeting to make sure nothing has changed or nothing is there that I am unaware of. But I believe that would be correct, that either way is okay.
What if existing chair doesn't run again or isn't at that first meeting?
There's still
And
a
in
chair.
that case, there are statutes that speak to when the chair is unavailable, the order to follow. And again, so long as the board rules don't expound upon or alter that in legally permissible ways, you're going to fall back to that statute for if the chair decides they're out and they're not there.
Well, I'm confused.
So it'd be the vice chair in the rules.
It would be the vice chair.
Mhm. And if
But
the
you look
first
to
vice
those-
chair isn't there, second vice chair.
But
our-
maybe I'm missing, maybe I'm not understanding. That first meeting is the new elected people. So what if you didn't run again or you didn't get elected again.
There is that possibility, but then there's an order of succession with who has authority if
Okay.
when somebody's unavailable. So that's not an issue in practice.
Okay.
Like this.
So it's like it's not like you're, if you don't run or you're defeated, it's like until the other people are brought and installed, you're still in office.
Oh,
And that's a good point.
But they're going to be installed before the meeting starts. The new electeds.
well, that's usually where the oath happens, that first meeting.
You couldn't have a quorum if they weren't installed.
Maybe you guys are onto a rationale for making for this process, which is arguably simpler than the statutory process that's otherwise in place absent this rule.
Or leave it like it
Do you
is.
follow me there?
I think that's.
Why don't we leave it like it is? Because it works.
Which I think is what you just said.
It is. What I said is, and I'm almost, you can
I think Nikki most of the time.
It took a lot more words to say it than I did.
I mean, because it's important to acknowledge what I said there. So I'm wanting you guys to understand.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, let me know. But both ways are right. You fall back to the statute, and all of that comes with the asterisk that I'm going to double check the OAG opinions to make sure nothing's changed or is otherwise there that I'm unaware of.
Okay.
I'm almost certain though that what I'm telling you is accurate. I do know 100% and can point you to the statute that tells you what you do, absent the board rule that we have that says, hey, it's just going to be the clerk.
For the board members that were here, when we switched from Dennis Brault to Justin running and Dennis didn't win chair, he left the meeting.
Yeah.
What happened then? Did we stop the meeting at that time? I can't really remember because some of us
No.
were virtual and some weren't.
No, because the chair was elected, so the
The chair was
chair
elected.
picked up the meeting.
Absolutely.
And I don't, yeah.
But the chair, but was Justin sworn in yet?
Well,
That's not
yeah,
relevant.
that's not relevant because you don't get sworn in as chair, you get elected as chair.
Elected.
And we
Yeah,
all were
swearing in.
sworn in already,
That's right.
Okay, okay.
like one and then it happens.
The reason I'm asking the question is Jerry's competent in what he does, so I'm not saying Jerry should not do this. But we may not always have a Jerry that has that background and understanding. And you have not always had a Jerry in the past. So that's why I'm questioning it, because according to the statutes, it's different than what you currently have.
But they're going to have court counsel. They're going to have the other supervisors to say, hey, what do you do here? And that's okay and
And it's
appropriate
good.
to look.
Small
Yeah.
window of time.
5 minutes.
But I'm just telling you the statutes say. But this preempts what that
I would
is.
hire you as my like personal risk manager.
Well, at least I'm glad I could get hired for something.
With that being said, I should still be here in April, and then after that, you can change.
We're not revisiting
Okay.
this. Folks, for you.
So are we just leaving it as is?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
I think we leave it as is. I'm going to sound old here, but I've been through 6 or 7 of these and it's always worked just fine.
Okay, wait. Mary, are you through your question?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Lauren.
I don't know if this belongs in the board rules or some other place, but if this is something we've been through many closed sessions and just regular meetings, IT part, that your participation remotely, we will do everything we can to include you, but
It's
can't
not
be
guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah. One time it was like 2 hours before we could get that one closed session going.
What's that? Well, we had something on the agenda for like public participation, like we'll do our best to get you connected, but we have to move on. But you're saying in terms of like closed session for board, like
Even regular committee meetings. You know.
we'll do our best to bring you in remotely.
Is there something that
Maybe the best would be the times, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever it happens to be, but. There's definitely a number there.
Nikki, what are your thoughts on that? Is that problematic?
Can you summarize again? I think I followed, but I'm not.
So
sure.
I think what Lauren is saying is, while we want to be accessible to those who want to be in remote, that's a good thing, board members to be remote.
Board members, yes.
Board members to be remote. The complication sometimes can be is going into a closed session, or even not, just if there's technical issues with being remote, either in a general meeting or in a closed session, at what point can we move forward with the meeting?
Why don't you just put a suggestion here? I'm thinking out loud, but why don't you just put that a board member who opts to attend a meeting as permitted under this rule remotely does so at their own risk, understanding and accepting that there is the possibility of IT issues, including or that would potentially result in them not being able to attend the meeting. But it's a supervisor at their own risk. They can, but it's not that there is assurance that IT will work there. Instead of putting in any time frame.
That would
It's
just
a thought.
go in where we allow electronic attendance.
Dining department here, but it might be on the other end.
Right. And you can say, IT will work to accommodate. However, supervisors appearing remotely are doing so at their own risk and with the possibility they won't be able to join.
That sounds good. Lauren, does that satisfy?
You can put in there that upon vote of the quorum, the meeting will continue without remote.
Yes.
Yeah, but what if you lose a
Majority
board
of
member and you
the
lose your
supervisor
quorum?
President person can.
Right.
And then your meeting has to stop.
Exactly.
Mary Henry and then Mary Bringy.
Do I have a vote as to whether to continue?
Just a majority vote of those present to carry on with the meeting, given up on IT.
Continue.
Mary Henry, was your hand up?
It was, I brought up that if you have a person that's on the committee and then you lose your number and your quorum, that's got to be watched because then the meeting has to stop.
Yeah,
Well, that's a consideration always.
That's okay.
Committee could not even vote.
We couldn't move forward.
Committee,
Yeah.
that's what I was getting at. Committee couldn't vote to move forward because he wouldn't have a quorum to.
Right.
Which is a separate issue. That quorum is always a rule and always there. And you guys know if you don't have a quorum, the meeting
It's
has to be
over.
lost.
Yeah.
Till Dave got here, we didn't think we
We
had
didn't
quorum
think we had a
today.
meeting.
So I played important.
Mary
You are
Bringy.
important. Until
Okay,
then,
as a person who does attend remotely, I realize that it isn't always possible to do it on my devices, but we still always have the ability to use the phone, don't we? To
Yes.
listen. Yes. So I mean, it's not like we only have one method. So like today, I would have just listened to you on the phone had I not been able to get in. But I would hope that let's really work on making this usable because the whole world uses this stuff. So
Yeah, and I think that's true. I do remember the meeting you are referencing. We did sit here for almost 2 hours trying to get connected and it was, it was like, how do we
and that's
move on?
ridiculous too. Because
So
I don't know that you have to be connected on your laptop to make
Right.
it a quorum, correct? Because I know I've done it over the phone.
Right.
So we do have more than this method, so I think it can work.
Fair point. All right. So did that change? Did you get that change?
Yep.
Any other questions? Could I get a motion to accept the changes as noted on the Vernon, the board, the rules of the board?
so you a motion just to add this and approve the whole thing?
Yes.
Yep.
Can I make that motion because I missed the last meeting?
You can.
Yeah, you can. You're making all my motions. Who would like to second Dave's motion? I will. How about that?
Taylor.
Brave.
Brave. All in favor,
Well, I
signify.
have
Oh,
one more
I'm so
question.
sorry.
One more question. And it's a note. Do you want to do anything on limits on time and the number of times that supervisors who attend meetings and or who join remotely can speak to an issue?
That's a good question.
Mhm.
Where do you
Comment.
see that in here?
I don't. I'm just asking it.
It was in
No,
here.
we
So
talked about that, and Robert's rules did not specifically outline, how many times someone could speak on an issue, especially when you're referring to board members. Jerry and I discussed that back and forth. We don't have, that's the one piece in the board rules that isn't really addressed is debate.
yeah.
In the old days, the rules limited the number of times you could speak
on each
agenda item.
Relatedly, if I may, not to this specific issue, but this is a great time to bring up the board rules as well as the committee structure and guidelines should be looked at as living, breathing documents. It is a good thing that you revisit them and that you make amendments and changes. It is not an admission of wrongdoing or errors in the past. It's always going to be a work that reflects the current body and their goals and their policies. So it is always going to be something that you guys should have on your radar and be asking, oh, should that be amended? Should this be amended? So if you're not prepared to address debate today, it doesn't mean that you can't revisit it a month, 2 months, 5 months, whenever is appropriate. I'm not saying it's not appropriate to address today. It's that reminder.
As I was saying, it used to be limits, I think it was 4 times, but it's since been removed.
Or it could be as simple as a statement that you're not allowed to speak on the same issue until all the other board members have been heard at least once, and then you make your rounds. But you don't have to deal with it today. I'm just asking it because it's been a topic that's been discussed.
Mary Bringy.
Okay, and I agree that there should be something done on this because occasionally this discussion gets to be between like 3 or 4 people and they talk constantly, and I really don't feel that everyone gets a chance to really put forth how they feel about an issue. So I think it's something we should look at.
Okay.
Just not today, right?
Just
No.
not today.
I think
But
so.
I mean, I think it should be looked at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would love greater participation from the whole county board. And if there's some thoughts of limitations because they feel there's too like domination happening, that's something to think about. So let's just like put that as to further, and I appreciate your feedback. Like we don't have to solve all this today, and it's living and breathing, and we can keep it going.
Do you have a motion in a second?
Yes, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Did online people vote?
I'm feeling like, again, on my paperwork, none of the changes are on it. So
I saw that. Yeah, I feel you because I couldn't see the changes on my email either. It wasn't until I got the printed copy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
That's why when I came in, I
Okay,
was like, this
because-
looks good. I have no idea what you're
I'm going
saying.
to abstain simply because I didn't have, I really don't feel I'm educated enough,
That's
not
fair.
seeing the changes, so.
So are you
Okay.
voting no?
She's just
She's
abstaining.
I'm
abstaining.
just abstaining.
I didn't hear
I
that.
may like it when I see it, but I don't know.
Sure. Okay, then we are on to Vernon County committees and commission structure, roles and responsibilities. Can you see the screen now, Mary, with changes?
Well, my screen right now is showing, what's up there is just, it's still going on about closing, we talked about closing and that particular thing, so if you
Okay.
have an updated something on that screen, it'd be great.
That would have helped.
I didn't know that. I
I was
didn't know.
scrolling and
You were scrolling
All
for
right.
nothing.
Oh, thanks.
everyone in here.
Sorry. I don't do this part very often. Okay.
Okay, here
Now
we
can
go.
you see it, Mary?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay,
Now you can
Kathy.
scroll.
All right.
Now I can scroll for you.
Again, updated the change in the role from administrator to administrative coordinator. In that third paragraph there with the change of board appointments to reflect the county board chair instead of an administrator. Updated the statutes referenced.
Take mine.
And then starting at the bottom of page 1 into page 2, reflecting the county administrator role rather than the administrator role as far as job duties go.
So Tricia, roll down to
Yeah,
2 so
sorry.
Mary can see.
Someone was distracting me over here. He
My
stole
pen
my,
ran out of ink.
they sold my pen.
Okay. So now we're at
Darn Canadians.
what's in blue up there. Right?
Yes. Well, red and blue for
It's
some reason.
weird.
I edited it on 2 different days, and I think that was the color change. I don't know. It doesn't like me most of the time. So just updated to reflect the administrative coordinator's responsibilities rather than what was outlined for an administrator. In several of the committee descriptions, it had the word supervise. So we removed the supervise or supervision and replaced with oversee or oversight to provide more accuracy with what those duties are. You'll see several sections where not the purview of the administrator is referenced, so those were removed.
So a lot of this is just
A
cleanup.
lot of
for
this is
current
cleanup.
status.
Yep, a lot of cleanup. More statute references under appointed committees.
Thanks.
And then some cleanup with who reports to which committee. It's okay. I'm like way down here now, I think. We're into appointed committees. And then again, under appointed committees, that reference to the board chair making those appointments, not the administrator.
Ending the third Tuesday in April in even numbered years.
Yep, that's the
To
new term.
concept.
That's the change.
Yeah.
I have to get my head around. Well, it's right off the top.
Yeah, mostly just cleanup. And then on page 6, should really be the zoning board of adjustment at the county level. They are boards of adjustment, not boards of appeal. And one thing we're still researching is the 3 supervisors plus 1 alternate. If that's how you want to keep that.
And Land Information Council, okay.
Yeah. If that's how you want to keep that structure or not. And different counties do it different ways. You know, the Board of Appeals, they kind of serve as a quasi judicial body. They hear the appeals on your zoning ordinances. Some counties don't have any of their legislative members on an appeals board because there could be a conflict of interest. And actually, that's what the state recommends as well, is that your legislators, so your county board members, don't sit on that board of adjustment. So that's something to consider here, and that would be my recommendation as well. And then the 2 committees that have formed since this document was last updated would be the Opioid Abatement and Prevention Steering Committee, and then the Planning Committee, which I think needs to say Planning Commission instead to be accurate as far as statutes go. So we need to make that change. Dave?
Our board of adjustment, I met once in 10 years.
Yeah, I can't imagine however, when the county eventually, if we're moving that direction, adopts comprehensive zoning, they'll have, so you're gonna see, variance requests, rezones, those kind of things. Actually not a rezone, I'm sorry. Variance, conditional, trying to think. I'm tired, man. Variance is mostly, but, you'll
So you
see,
see an increase.
you'll see more of those come through. So it'll definitely be more frequent meetings than once in 10 years.
Yeah, we've had one since 2017.
Yeah. Which I would expect, due to the nature of the, what we have for zoning.
Because of the flooding.
I don't even remember what it was, Dave. Were
Yeah.
you on that with
Yeah.
me? We had a hearing. We sat here. I
Yes.
remember where we were. We had a little square table set up right here.
I had all the information, we still got beat down.
Do we have a Department of Community Development?
So that will be part of the restructuring of the grants department and Amy's position.
So that'll come later.
Because we've got community development in here.
Yes, I made that change with the assumption that we are moving that direction with that department. If we're going to do it.
On page 62.
Yeah.
Yes, where it says community development at the bottom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Page 7 and 8, I'll just clean up to reflect, name changes for like the Broco Westy Trail Committee, defining those TIF districts. Nothing crazy there.
Kudos to both the last two agenda items. We've been talking about making cleanup to board rules and just kudos for doing it.
Motion to approve as presented.
Okay, motion to approve what's presented. Can I get a second?
Anyone?
I'll second it to put it on the floor.
Okay, so more discussion, sounds like discussion or questions? Do you have some?
Mhm.
Okay, I can't see if other people do, so
I'm sorry.
online, I don't know.
Question that I have is for our committees, can non-supervisors serve as chair and vice chair? Our rules say that they are elected by the committee, but these are elected and appointed committees of the county board. So can they serve in that capacity?
That's a good question.
For the elected committees?
Elected and appointed.
I feel like the appointed committees
By the chair.
the chairperson appoints the chair.
Okay. So then the elected committees, I believe then it says they are elected by their,
Yes,
Yes, they are.
clarification on that's why because appointed committees, the chairs were created by the chair of the county board. So it was the elected committees that elect their chairperson. And your question is, does that have to be a county board supervisor?
Curveball. I don't know.
I mean, currently they all are county board. No?
No,
Oh,
you have a vice chair somewhere that's not, it's a citizen member.
huh.
and I will ask, I don't know, maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I don't see it in here for appointed committees that the chair appoints the committee chair.
What is the rule? I think is what Mary's asking, but what is, could one of the citizens then care? Yes, I didn't even consider them as a possibility, but there's no rules against it.
No, it's not defined.
Could it be as simple as, so what you don't want to do is find yourself in a position where you've limited who could serve because of a rule. But I think everyone would prefer that it be a county board supervisor first and foremost. So could the rules state something in that Like, I don't know why the Board of Trustees vice chair isn't a county board supervisor, but I certainly wouldn't want to limit it if that's the option that they had in front of them. Am I making sense?
Are, and I would say that
Well,
these are
I have a
created.
question.
You should maybe ask your court counsel if there's any
Yes,
restriction on it.
that's my question too. What's the restrictions or what's it say?
From a statute?
Yes.
Okay, so can we put a pin on this and come back to it next meeting?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think so.
Yeah, March, we could get it to the board still in March.
And I would say the same thing for appointed committees. I don't think it says that the county board chair appoints the chair. They appoint the committee, but it doesn't say it. If that's the practice, fine.
Well, it was the county administrator at the last time who did this new structure and appointed the chair. That's
Okay.
so I think before that, it was the chairperson who appointed the chair in the non-elected.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to do that, we should
should
spell
include
it.
it.
Okay.
That's, I guess, where I was coming.
Maybe your homework is to see, is that problematic from a legal standpoint? So we're gonna hold on approving this one.
So are we withdrawing your motion there, Ms.?
Yes.
Are there any other
Yeah, are
questions
there
or
any questions that we need to
considerations on
vet? Thank you. Good point.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just ask these questions in regards to the statement that you took out on infrastructure and conservation and education.
Page
3. It says, and not otherwise the purview of the administrator. So what was the purview of the administrator under those committees? Because we gave the same authority as a board to the administrative coordinator based on what we approved. And I don't know what the purview was.
I don't have an answer for you, Mary.
Sorry.
That's
okay.
good.
That's good.
Let's go back and figure out what we mean by that.
Yeah.
Is this saying all authority goes to that committee without any check and balance?
This is a county's highway statutes to referencing, by the way.
For conservation and education?
Infrastructure. Talking about infrastructure.
I thought she was talking about this.
Yes, it's infrastructure and conservation and education. They took out the same statement out of both of them.
Okay, so we need more clarity.
Okay.
What else you got, Mary? Very good.
That's it.
Very good. I mean, very good point, and very good that fits.
Oh, we spent some time on this.
Okay, so Mary, bring you anything more?
Well, I was just gonna say on some of these committees, that is decided in statute.
Right,
As
so
to
we're
how your
gonna-
chair and vice chair is done. Like I know it is in human services.
Sure.
And I don't know about, but that's decided among the people who are on the committee, who's the chair and the vice chair.
Okay, so we're gonna hold that we withdraw.
Yeah, we need to know.
And we'll come back to this piece of it next meeting. All right, administrative coordinator report.
I'm gonna skip a couple things that Connor already touched on. The RFPs for the feasibility study for Vernon Manor are due back today. I've received one. I expect to have another one by the end of the day. I have been in discussions with a nonprofit facility about the possibility of managing the nursing home and the assisted living facility. I'm exploring that because that's one of the options that will be explored in the RFP as well. I was approached, I'm looking into the feasibility of it, what it might look like. So we've been busy with that. We continue to have struggles with recruitment for the administrator position there. Working very hard on that, but it is tough. Chris Brigham has agreed to stay on in an interim capacity through April. As Tricia mentioned earlier, we've had a couple meetings with McGrath regarding the wage study. We're currently finalizing the draft. From there, Tricia and I will meet with the department heads individually to discuss those individual positions and their placement on the scale. Once that's all finalized and good to go, the next step would be to present to this committee and then ultimately to the full board.
So what is that timeline? Because when we went to approve this, we were thinking we'd have results in like October.
Mm-mm.
No?
No, we
Okay.
thought spring.
If we're doing it in October.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, we're on track
Yeah.
for as far as the timeline.
Thank
goes.
you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I was like you,
We
Allison.
had all of the information from the other counties after they completed their budget. So we wanted to wait until all that information was into them.
Okay.
The Kayla Fortney case is still ongoing. It's been delayed until April. There was supposed to be a hearing the other day. That did not happen. So as soon as I have any update on that, I will report on that. The Opioid Prevention and Abatement Steering Committee awarded the first of its grants at its meeting on Monday. Grants of $25,000 each were awarded to the Amara Rose Foundation and to the Vernon County Health Department. So the Amara Rose Foundation that money will pay for billboards in the county for a 12-month period for education mostly. And then the health department will be purchasing medication lock boxes. And so they'll have those on hand at the health department and they will distribute them to the health centers in the county as well. The Planning Commission will hold its first meeting tomorrow with the Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission. The board members on that committee are Oli, Kay, Sandy, and Charlie, and then the citizen members that were appointed are Mary Stanek, George Wilbur, and Pete. Is it Stracton, Lauren? Okay.
Pete Strachan.
I don't know how to spell it, so I've just been having fun with that one.
I don't think Pete knows how to.
Yesterday, I met with Ben and his staff, in addition to Monique, Matt, and Nikki regarding plans for the decommissioning of the dams in the Coon Creek and West Fork, Kickapoo watersheds. What we worked on yesterday was formulating a plan on how we're getting information out to the board and a timeline as far as when decisions are going to have to be made. So the current plan is to hold a special session of the board at the end of April. To provide information to the board and offer a question and answer session. As long as we stay on track with the current timeline, the board would need to make a decision by the June board meeting. And then lastly, it is Tricia's 1-year anniversary with the county today. So, or I don't know, Jen emailed me and I got an email. So it might not be today. Maybe it's this week, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Hanging it out for a year. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
I've been here longer.
That's true.
What's the date on the decommissioning?
The date of the special session?
You
With the
said
board
they had to
or
have a decision on that.
June, by the end of June.
Thanks.
Really? Okay, I'm not hearing any questions for Cassie. Let's move on to agenda item for future meetings. We have one for sure, which is the committee, the roles and responsibilities that we just talked about. What else? Anybody?
Next meeting, we're gonna be bringing a resolution dealing with the elected official salaries for the next term. For 3 elected officials that are getting elected this year. The clerk, the treasurer, and the register of deeds
Oh, for in the November election.
for the next term.
I see.
So
Yeah.
Okay. Not hearing anything else. Confirm next meeting, March 6th, 9:30. Yes?
Yes.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
You gonna make one today?
I'll make that motion.
Mary, bring you second. Or did you have a question?
Yeah. No, I'm just adjourning.
All right. Thanks, everybody.